just because it is.
But the ones can't get anything.
You know, they're all different. Some of them may be affectionate all the time, some of them maybe sometimes, some of them rarely. But they all want to feel safe and they all want to feel loved and they want you to be proud of them. You can see that they feel it and they know that they're secure and that they're safe and that this person loves them. Even just looking in their eyes when you're talking to them, I find is so important.
Say it all the time, tell them that you love them all the time. To never question how much you love them. Just this one thing packed and they can go off and be individuals, I think, allows them to be. If they're searching or they don't feel quite 100% about that, then they're going to spend a lot of their lives looking for the love from their parents. To me, it's the easiest thing. I've always said, you know, love is easy.
Well, it's an amazing feeling, and just when she comes up to you and gives you a big cuddle and she tells you that she loves you, you can't describe how that makes you feel. It's just absolutely the most amazing feeling.
It was actually very recently that my elder son, he asked me for the first time ever, "How was your day, Mum?" Which was a surprisingly lovely thing to hear. So we enjoy this time where we do talk about what each other has been up to in the day and what we plan to do the next day.
He will work through the week and he'll say, "Was today a daddy day?" And say, "Yes." And Gussie's at school today? "Yes, Gussie's at school." And he goes, "Way!" So he's really happy about that sort of situation as well, so that he's got me 100%.
The hardest thing for me as a parent has been distance. I had to go to New York and make this film, and so for 8 weeks they weren't there, and then when they turned up, Charlie was so funny. He was sitting on Danielle's lap, and I could see them through the kitchen window as I came around, and I came in through the door and I said his name, and he heard my voice but he couldn't see me immediately, and so his head was flying around, and he saw me and he jumped off his mum's knee and he started running towards me. And the first 2 steps were really happy. The second 2 steps, that happiness was kind of overtaken by the distance he'd just experienced. And then the next 2 steps completely collapsed emotionally. So by the time he got to me, he was just in a ball on the ground crying his eyes out. So I just picked him up and we had a bit of a cuddle. That memory of him telling me just how much he'd missed me was going to stay with me forever.
Hey girls, it's time to come inside now. We're going to get dinner ready, eh? You can give Mum and Dad a hand, please. What are you going to do first, Dad? Good girl. Here, Shorty, you're going to need this. From a young age, they've always known that they have to drink water. Water comes before anything else, just to keep them hydrated, prevent headaches and things like that. So yeah, water always is first. Preparation for our meals is a time for our family to come together and talk about our day, talk about our evening ahead, and talk about the food that we're eating. So it's just a time to come together and just communicate as a family on a very relaxed environment, in a very relaxed environment, yeah. Just put the skin on here.
Do you want to come with me and
cut
we'll
the
wash
skin off it.
We'll wash the lettuce?
You know what to do, Shorty? Who knows what fish that is? I like to give them vegetables and all sorts of vegetables. I usually use fresh vegetables from the market, but frozen vegetables are always going to be better than no vegetables. They're just as good as fresh, so I always keep some of them in the freezer. It's a father and daughter thing that I do every weekend. I take them out on the Saturday and we go to the markets. The girls look at the fruit, they get to know the fruit. And as for the vegetables, I always talk to them about why they got to eat these vegetables and why it's important to always have green vegetables in the meals that we have every day. So we see the importance of instilling all of these things into our children so that they can be independent in the future. See, it's white down the bottom. That means it's cooked through that far. So what we're going to do is wait till it gets up to till it's white like that.
You got to keep down the bottom and mix it through.
And then we'll flip it over and cook the other half. All right? But give us our turn first, and then you go. Yeah, me and Debbie always like to lead by example. It's hard to try and get the kids to do something that you're not doing, so, but it benefits us as well. So we've grown up as very athletic people, and we've always eaten well, so we want to instill that into our children to give them the best opportunity in life too. I think getting the girls involved in the preparing of the meal makes them appreciate it and makes them be, a part of it, and that's our number one rule in our family, is that we always come together and we talk. It's important not only for the family unit but for communication within society too. Good, yeah.
Fish is nice, eh? Nice and sweet.
We'll have to go fishing again soon, eh? Maybe we'll borrow Uncle Mick's tinny. That's the same one that Grandad kept.
Mummy, can you move one?
Wow, like old baseball bat. You got to turn your knife around. Good girl. Well done.
Play absolutely does not have to cost a lot. Kids really need materials to play. They need something to manipulate, which doesn't necessarily mean they need toys. The best materials are open-ended materials, which means that the same object can be used in lots of different ways and by lots of different age groups. The best example of open-ended materials that are fantastic for play are natural materials. Petals and leaves and sticks and the dirt and sand and water. They're everywhere. They're free, and they provide your children with a huge variety of opportunities for play. So a stick, it can be a sword, it can be a digging implement, it can be my microphone, it can be the structure that I build something with, it could be something that I jump over, it could be something that I use to measure something. It is an open-ended material, can be used in lots of different ways. And if we're thinking about man-made objects, some of the best things in my experience are balls, from babies all the way through to 10 and 12-year-olds can be playing amazing games with balls. Cardboard, recycled containers and boxes and tubes can be used for all sorts of things. And even something like strips of fabric or scarves. They can be dress-ups. You can make cubbies out of them. You can go and have a picnic with it. You can dance with them. They can be all sorts of things for all sorts of people and all sorts of types of play. The more they need to use their imagination, to think about how they're playing, to problem solve, try a new way, to use their bodies, use their minds, or connect with somebody else, the more that they're able to do that, the more development is happening in their brains and across their whole body. You don't need to spend lots of money on puppets. I mean, some of them are beautiful, and yes, if you have one, that's wonderful. But simple puppets are great. I mean, I could just, with a little pen, draw 2 eyes on my finger and I have a little puppet. Or I could have a shadow puppet and move my hands to make it talk. I could have a puppet out of paper with a pop stick or a stick that I find outside.
I could use a paper bag and put my hand in, or a sock to make a hand puppet, glue some googly eyes on something and you already have a puppet. So it doesn't need to be a complex craft activity, although you can, if your child is interested, you can do all sorts of amazing crafts and creations. But you can just do a really simple version. What's important about the playing with puppets is them giving life to that object, giving a character, giving a voice or a sound, so they're able to animate an object.
I'm Mr. Cloud. You can't eat me up. Oh, yes I can.
And it can be a really playful way to interact with your children too. So this puppet says, oh, it's time for bed, just to make your everyday routines more playful. And puppets are really fun, quite often really fun and funny. There's nothing better than laughing together. If you're unsure about how to support your child and your child sort of feels a bit lost as to, what to do today, there's lots of different ways that we can kind of plant a seed for an idea. It might be looking at pictures, online, or it could be looking at books, and that might seed some ideas. It could be even just going on a bit of a hunt to see what you can find, what objects that you can find. A really nice way to think about it too is finding two objects, simple objects in your house that wouldn't normally be together, and even just simply taking those two objects and putting them together and just leaving them in front of a child and see what happens. So yes, my child likes to play with dinosaurs and likes to play with Play-Doh, but what about if I put those two things together? So putting these kind of incongruous items together suddenly sparks the imagination. I wonder what you could do with that.